All right, welcome back to the Elias Macko Show. It's 11:21 right here on CJAD 800. A bombshell new book is said to be reopening deep Democratic wounds. Original Sin by CNN's Jake Tapper and Axios reporter Alex Thompson paints a damning portrait of Joe Biden's final year in office, alleging declining health, denial from those closest to him, and a re-election bid some call a tragic mistake. It's based on hundreds of interviews. The book claims the truth about Biden's condition was hidden from staff, Congress, and even donors. It raises questions about political accountability. Now, that book due out this week, and at the same time, on Sunday, we got the news that Joe Biden had been diagnosed with an aggressive form of prostate cancer that has spread to his bones. Let's talk about the medical news and the book news with Mariana Alfaro, political reporter for The Washington Post. Mariana, welcome to the program.
Hi, thanks for having me.
How's this book hitting the Beltway?
Oh, well, I think it's been one of those that everyone's been waiting to see, but the news on Sunday of President Biden's health kind of doubled down on the intensity of the revelations in it. And, you know, it's that thing where for us reporters, I can say that, there were, we did put out media reports about, President Biden's health and just, noticeably how his age impacted his functioning in the White House. But this book kind of digs deeper into just the background of it all, the people working behind scenes. And it's kind of fascinating to see how the whole system behind him was trying to rally up a president that clearly, he is 82 now. And he, had some moments when that clearly showed his age showed. Yeah.
For our audience, what do you think are the things that have come out, whether before the book is launched or now that the book's out? What do you think are a couple of things that are going to resonate here on just how grave the situation really was?
Well, I think there's something to be said about just the rejection of having a primary. The rejection of trying to move on past what Biden promised. He said he was going to be a transitional president. He said he was going to go on to the next generation of leadership in the Democratic Party, and that didn't happen. And so I think I would keep an eye out for those sections in the book that talk about how that decision was made and why so many in the Democratic Party followed with it instead of, allowing for an open primary. Who knows who could have gotten the nomination, but at that point it could have been Vice President Harris, and then it would have been, perhaps an easier campaign for her to run if she had been given the entire time to campaign instead of jumping in the middle of the summer.
I wonder on trust and this book. And what trust has been hurt by this book? And the public trusting what they get out of the White House, also the public trusting what they get out of the media. And I wonder if this is going to cause some major introspection from media outlets on their coverage of presidents moving forward.
Yes, I think perhaps, the media can be covering things and people just don't click on it or people just don't look. And I do think that perhaps promotion or speaking of these topics will increase. I think, if I just look at the Washington Post archives myself, there's plenty of stories where we pointed out, the president's age. But I think there's something more about whether that was catching buzz or whether we were promoting that content more than other stuff. So I think that might be a conversation that we'll be having. But I think in terms of trust, specifically with the Democratic Party, I think that that's something that they're struggling with right now because, again, switching the candidates that late in the race already broke a lot of confidence, I think, with voters and the leaders in the party. And right now, seeing how the Republican Party just rallies behind everything President Trump says, that's something very different. I don't think that Democratic voters are so willing to follow one specific leader in the party, and it's going to be determined whether who is willing to come in and clean up this sudden, not sudden, but this ecosystem where nobody knows who the Democratic Party leader is or what the party is going to do next now that there's clearly no one to take up that role.
So, Mariana, it's one thing to talk about the president's age, right? It's one thing to mention that the president is old. It's another thing to talk about maybe examples of decline. Did the media do a good enough job on the latter? Because the former Joe Biden's old. We heard that all the time. But was his condition had it deteriorated so much that there should be questions about him being in the Oval Office?
Yes, I do agree that there should have been perhaps more digging or more questioning of the White House whenever they just said, it's just age, or whenever it was try to be not swept under the rug, but then there was some sort of, not responding of direct questions. I think we should have pressured them more. I think that there was perhaps not enough pushing there. But again, there's only so much that you can get from the White House press office. I think, there was it was a tight ship. They were like really not letting anything out. But that doesn't mean that the media shouldn't have tried harder to get these details out, especially when, again, it was so evident that there was something going on. But I think that everyone just kind of took what the White House was saying and kind of ran with it instead of really questioning the spin.
We're with Mariana Alfaro, political reporter for The Washington Post. Mariana, does this news from Sunday, the cancer diagnosis, the prostate cancer diagnosis, does that further muddy the waters about what was acknowledged, what information was given to the media over the course of the last Biden years?
Yes, I mean, there's definitely a question of what was being said about the previous exams that he received when he was president. That level of cancer, it was pretty aggressive. And so, experts have questioned, the reports that came out during those years because it's not something that you would miss if you, again, I'm not a cancer expert, but it's pretty much a very heightened level of the specific, I think, chemical in the body. And it should have probably been a red flag at some point in the presidency. But again, it raises questions over, what was being told to the media back then. But again, it's still pretty murky in terms of what we knew then and what we know now. And it just makes it more clear that perhaps the Democratic Party should again have try to heat a refresh, try to find a regular primary in 2024 instead of continuing with this candidate, despite the loyalty and love that many in the party have for him.
Mariana, before I let you go, I'd be remiss not to ask you about what's happening on the Republican side of things. And with President Donald Trump, he's trying to get a budget passed here. Why don't you tell our listeners about the challenge for the president and how he's working with the Senate and House leaders on that?
Yeah, so right now he actually just left a meeting with the House. I was there about 20 minutes ago. He was there for over an hour just trying to get all his ducks in a row because there's, two sides of faring in there. There's the ultra-conservatives who want more cuts to Medicaid and other programs, specifically also the tax credits that people get for having, green vehicles. Those people want to cut that. And then there's the other side of the more moderates who are very scared that they touch Medicaid. That's going to be a, political misstep for them. But also there's something about taxes in states like California and New York where there's several moderates who, are running in difficult districts because they are the Republicans in those states. And President Trump just came out saying that he had a great meeting. He dismissed any concerns that we asked him about, all of these moderates and ultra-conservatives coming out of the meeting not very happy. He said that it was a meeting of love. He said that he is not losing his patience with these people, but they do want to pass this by Thursday, the latest. So we'll see what these members say as they continue leaving the meeting. But for now, President Trump is saying that it was a great meeting, but then we're hearing from these moderates and ultra-conservatives that it wasn't enough what they heard in there.
Can he get it done by Thursday, you think?
I mean, they're very bullish. Him and Johnson, the Speaker of the House, are saying it's going to happen. But at this point, it's all about figuring out who gets their want in the bill versus who is going to have to really compromise. And, it's looking like if they can strike a deal with that tax cuts I'm mentioning in New York and California, it probably is not going to be as much as those Republicans want. But if they manage something there, they might be able to move it faster. But I'm still questioning how willing the ultra-conservatives are going to be to move forward without having the cuts they want to see to Medicaid.
Mariana, thanks for joining us this morning. I always appreciate you on the program. Thanks again.
Thanks so much.
Mariana Alfaro, political reporter over at The Washington Post.